So in this video, I'm going to show you what I do when photographing woodland. It's easy to photograph trees when they're on their own or in small groups, but it's a lot harder when you've got a massive load of trees all together. So I'm going to help you through looking through the chaos of a woodland and trying to simplify your compositions by zooming in on things, getting closer to things, and also how to compose a group of trees together. So if you're new to woodland photography, one of the most important things is to get the composition right. So you can see that this composition is somewhat unbalanced because in the bottom corner here you've got the leaves which are drawing attention to themselves. And then you've got the whole of the right hand side of the image is unbalanced from the left because the left is balanced up by this tree here apart from the main tree. So I think it's not a good composition, so I need to go somewhere else and move around slightly just to get a better composition. So now I've moved the camera around just slightly. It's about 2 or 3 meters from where I was just now. And you can see how much better balanced this composition is. So I know it's not a great shot, right? Okay, let's not go there. But at least this tree on the right here is balanced by this one on the left behind me. So it's a really pleasing kind of composition. So this is the kind of thing you need to look for to make sense of your woodland pictures. You need to kind of simplify everything. So notice how I haven't included that much sky either. So you need a zoom lens and just to simplify everything as much as possible in woodland. So yeah, I'm not even going to take this shot, but you get the idea. So I just found this nice beech tree which is turning golden, and as you can see from this clip, if I'm zoomed right out, you can see the bright sky above, and I find that very distracting. So what I think I'm going to do is zoom in and just cut off the sky altogether and just frame up part of the tree. It will still be obvious that it's a tree. Yeah, so this is the zoomed out view, and I'm going to start to zoom in now. And I don't really like this tree on the right, so I might have to exclude that completely. But obviously I'm filming this in 16:9 ratio, so I'd have to turn around something like that to get rid of the tree. So it's not ideal. It's still obvious it's a tree. It's not bad, but I think when I switch it back and take it in my 3:2 format, you'll be able to see the difference, and it will show more of the tree, and it'll exclude this tree on the right, which I find very distracting, drawing the eye away from the main subject. So this is the shot zoomed in at 3:2, and it looks a lot better. So we get a lot of grey days in the UK, but still get out with your camera, especially to woodland, because woodland shots can still look great even on grey days. And you might come across a classic legendary tree like this beautifully twisted beech tree. And I just set my shot up here, and you might think, oh yeah, that looks pretty good. But I noticed that just to the right of the main part of the trunk of this tree, you can see the trunk of another tree behind it. So I realised that that was actually quite distracting. So I'm going to excuse the jerky camera movements, but I'm just going to move the camera around to get that out of the frame. Yeah, that's a lot better. So it's a much simpler, cleaner shot. So take your time and study what you're doing, which is why you really want a tripod, which is why professionals like me always use a tripod. And that's a much better composition. If you come to a place like this and the conditions aren't great, and you think, yeah, it's not a very good shot, but maybe I'll come back to it later, but just take a shot anyway. And then what I do is I would make a small JPEG of that, and then I paste it onto a Word document, Microsoft Word document or something like that, and then I keep a long list of places to return to, so that I know that if I took a shot of this in bad weather, that I can come back on another day, and hopefully when there's some sun shining from the side or something like that, I can get a better shot of it. So keep a record of what you're doing, even if you just take a quick snap on your phone and then remember where the tree was and come back to it in better light. So getting to know your local woodland is very important, because you get to find trees like this. I've photographed this tree several times, so I've got it in different conditions. I've yet to get it in mist, so I'm waiting for the day when I get mist here, but because we're quite near the coast, the mist doesn't happen very often. So I'm just going to light paint this twisted beech tree. So I'm coming over to the side with my torch, trying to do even lines like that. Important to do it from the side, because if you do it face on, the lighting's a little bit flat, so you want a nice shadowy side and a bright side. So going to do this for a while, try and light up all the leaves. So try and tell a story with your pictures. So often it's great to include people in your scene, even in a woodland setting like this. This picture is really telling a story about the three girls being on the bench. And now if I show you a clip without anyone sat on the bench, you can see it's a different kind of story altogether. The story now is you can kind of imagine yourself perhaps going in to sit on that bench. So this could also make a shot. And of course it's quite a lot different when someone comes to sit on the bench. Always try and think in terms of the story you're trying to tell in your pictures. So I just found this very young beech tree here, which is starting to go yellow golden, and next to this nice ivy covered green mossy beech tree bark, and I like it a lot. At the moment there's some sun on it, and I don't actually want the sun on it, because what I want to do is I want to shoot it slightly underexposed, and then that will hopefully make this beech tree with its bright colours stand out amongst the rest. So I'm going to wait for the sun to go in, because there's a bit of cloud going over at the moment, so we should be all right in a few minutes. So if you're shooting in woodland with a fairly short lens, this is a 24mm to 70mm, then you should be all right at a 60th of a second. And if you've got vibration reduction, or it's called other things on other cameras like steady shot, switch that on as well, so that you've definitely got enough shutter speed for the dark conditions, because you don't want camera shake. Camera shake should be avoided at all times. So make sure you've got a fast enough shutter speed to avoid the dreaded camera shake. So it's quite easy on a short lens like this. Stick to a 60th of a second or higher, maybe 125th. Now, if you're using a longer lens, you've got to be much more careful about the shutter speed. So what I normally do is I equate the focal length with the shutter speed. So if you're shooting at 100mm, you need at least 100th of a second. If you're shooting at 200mm, you need at least 200th of a second. So equate those shutter speeds with the focal length of the lens. So I just found this beech tree, which looks really nice. What looks good about it is it's got roughly equal branches coming up from the centre of the trunk either side. But at the moment, the composition is a little bit cluttered. Got a bit of mud on the bottom right, which doesn't look good. So I need to make the composition a lot more balanced. So I'm going to just lift the tripod up, excuse the jerky video, and I just want to separate that beech tree from the background trees and make a more balanced composition. Yeah, now, yeah, that's definitely a lot better. So I'll just adjust the tripod. And in woodland, a tripod is so much better than trying to struggle doing everything handheld. So if you're going to get a tripod, I would buy a good one. don't skimp on it. Yeah, that looks a lot better, but there's not quite enough of the ground. I think that's better. If you've got a little bit of ground at the bottom like that, it just does not look right. So don't cut too much off. You need a bit of space around things. There's a tiny little, on the bottom left, there's a tiny bit of the trunk of another tree coming in. So I'm going to zoom in a little tiny bit more to about there. Now I'm going to bring the floor down a bit, but not too much, because otherwise I've got this mud on the bottom right, which is distracting again. I think that's the shot there. So it's important to get to know your local woodland. The better you get to know it, you know where to shoot. And what I do is I know this particular part of my local woodland pretty well. So these are all redwood trees, pine trees, and I know where the sun rises, so I know where I can get good sunrise pictures and at what time of year. So I know, for example, the sun rises from over there at the moment. So I can come here at different times of the year and make sure I get good shots. And you might find a favourite tree. If you do find a favourite tree, take a shot of it, even if it's on your phone, even if it doesn't look good at the time, and then keep a note of it and remind yourself to come back on a different day and take the shot again. So I've just found a puddle of water and it's got some nice fallen leaves in it. So I'm going to get my longer lens out and zoom into these leaves. So I've got the longer lens on now. I'm at 100mm and I'm liking this so far, but I don't like there's a little stick in there. If I can reach in without getting completely soaked, because I forgot to bring my Wellingtons, I'm going to grab it out. A bit risky. Okay, that's better. And yeah, that's much cleaner looking. So now I'm going to zoom in a bit more. This one right in the corner here, bottom right, this yellowy leaf, that's the key focal point. So I'm going to focus on that, and then I'm going to put my polarizing filter on. The polarizing filter is probably the only one you ever need in a woodland. So this is what a polarizing filter will do to this puddle. Turn the front round and you can see it takes away a lot of the reflection. Makes for a better shot, I believe. Yeah, I like that. Another good thing to try if you're a beginner at woodland photography is ICM, or intentional camera movement. I bet you can't see my face, can you? It's so dark in here. Anyway, this is simply a case of choosing a slow shutter speed. So to achieve that, it's quite easy in a dark place like this. You just use a small aperture, which have the large numbers, something like f16, f22, and then you just move the camera up and down. Yeah, up and down I think will suit these trees best. And it's deliberately blurring the image, but it's quite a nice effect, so do give it a try. So notice that even though I'm just shooting an ICM image, I still chose a nice balanced composition. So the main tree in the foreground is on a nice third line. So all I'm going to do now is shake the camera up and down like that. It's going to be a right old mess, but it's quite a nice effect. So you've got to just zoom in on things or get closer to things to simplify things in the woodland. So I've just found this nice ivy, what is it? Ivy roots, isn't it? Ivy roots growing up this tree. Right, so now I want to zoom in onto this lovely tree bark and find a good composition. So I rather like the kind of loop in that bit there. Yeah, I think I might make that the focal point. And I also like the way the background is nicely out of focus. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so that the ivy leaves on the edges of the trunk are more visible, and that they're all neatly composed around the image. Yeah, I think that's my shot there. So now I'm going to take that at the maximum aperture that I can possibly use. The maximum aperture at 200mm on this lens is f5.6. So I'll be shooting at that because I want to use a larger aperture so that it makes sure that the background is nicely blurred. So if you used a smaller number like f16, f22, you'd get much more of the background in focus. I'll take one at f5.6 and then one at f16 and show you the difference. So now you can see the two shots. The one at f5.6 has got a nice soft out of focus background, and the one at f22 has too much of the background in focus for my liking, and it distracts from the main subject, which is the tree root and the tree bark. So be careful what aperture settings you're using. Even when I've got a great situation like this, where there's lovely mist behind the trees, the sun's rising, so I'm gonna have to work fast, I'd still rather slow down, take my time and have a good look and try and get one good image. So I've taken my time and I've noticed a branch here. I could clone it out with Photoshop, but obviously I'd rather just take it out. So I'm gonna just do a bit of woodland tidying while I'm here. That looks good. And now I can take my shot. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing for more videos. Till next time, bye.